cutting room with the talent that love, the evil Reverend Billy Graham, Billy the Chainsaw Max, and Joe and
Hey everyone, welcome to a very special interview episode of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. Happy Halloween to everyone. We are celebrating Halloween here on the Cutting Room like we do every year. And every year, Mr. Max Cook programs these shows, and we are coming at you with some great stuff. As you know, this week we're discussing 2008's Martyrs and this classic, The Blair Witch Project. Max, I gotta tell you, I am so excited about this one. So excited.
Well, you should be excited, Tom, because I got to tell you something. I go and I see turds. I don't even go to the theater anymore. I go and I see these big budget Hollywood turds. I want to die slow death. What's
terrible.
that? They're terrible. I always go back to the Blair Witch Project, and I have a theory that I want to bounce off our guest as to why it caught the popular imagination.
Well, it's amazing, and you know what? I so remember when this hit the theaters, and I remember just people really getting behind the reality of it and really thinking that it was something that had happened.
It's groundbreaking.
It was unbelievable. I mean, I was working down at the Jersey Shore. I was cooking, and I remember these young girls that I was working with. They're talking about this Blair Witch Project movie, and they're like, "Oh my God, this stuff really happened. This is unbelievable. They found this stuff, and this movie came out, and this is unbelievable." And I mean, I went and checked it out, and I was just like freaking mesmerized by it. It's very, very frightening. And Joe, I mean, it's kind of groundbreaking. I mean, look, it's not the first found footage film, but it kind of redesigned the whole genre.
Well, that hook that you just mentioned, that people actually believe that it was a real found footage, it was just a great bit of marketing and low budget marketing that was incredibly effective. I mean, you really went to go see it to judge for yourself whether or not it was really found footage. I mean, it's great, man. It swept the nation, man. It became a thing,
Right?
And it's since become iconic.
It's incredible. I rewatched it, and as you know, this is coinciding with our Blair Witch Project and Martyrs episode for our Halloween special. And you know, as you'll hear on my intro, listen, I watched this during the day, and it scared the hell out of me.
I just watched it again. It was funny because I watched it before Max even assigned it for the show, before he even programmed the show. I watched it with my daughter. She's becoming a horror aficionado. She's really digging the horror movies, and I watched it with her maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she always pretends she's not scared, but it definitely creeped her out. When I first saw it, I was definitely unnerved. I don't know if movies in general can scare me anymore, but I really loved it when I first saw it. The second time I kind of knew what was going on, but I have great admiration for the picture. Absolutely, as we'll talk about.
Well, listen, we have Eduardo Sanchez with us, guys. He's going to talk to us about his film. He's an independent Spirit Award winner, which is freaking awesome. And not only that, but he won the John Cassavetes Award. So listen, there's nothing wrong with being associated with an Independent Spirit Award and actually winning it, but he's also associated with the name John Cassavetes, which,
one of my favorite filmmakers.
Absolutely. So let's talk to Eduardo. Eduardo, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. How's it going with you guys?
Oh, it's Halloween. We couldn't be more dark than we are today.
It's a good month.
You love this month, don't you?
I do love this month. It wasn't really one of my favorites when I was a kid, but now, after Blair Witch, it seems like a lot of stuff happens in October that centers, that I kind of around me. So it's good. It's a good month.
Why not as a kid? Did you not
I
like
never really. I mean, the costumes that we had as kids are just super disappointing, man. My mom did
the Darth Vader plastic
the Darth
mask.
Vader, it was a mask, and then it was like Darth Vader, a picture of Darth Vader on your shirt, and I was like, I don't want a picture
Right.
of Darth Vader, I want the Darth Vader thing, and they just didn't get it, man, back then,
Right.
Right.
So,
He wanted the actual helmet.
Yeah, I wanted the thing with the little chest, the buttons on the chest, and
The buttons.
instead
Now it
yeah,
goes
instead it was just a picture a picture of Darth Vader on a plastic
right.
shirt. It was just very it was
Now you
disappointing.
got cosplay.
Well,
Oh
now it's
God.
ridiculous, man.
Eduardo, you're bringing up Star Wars. Is it because that trailer is just so huge right now?
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of took over everything, man, and
It's everything. Your Twitter feed, right? I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. I'm trying to
It's also
avoid it. I'm trying to avoid it. I mean, I watched it once, and then I just kind of don't want to watch it anymore. I want to wait till the movie kind of
of
blows me
course.
away.
I vote for Ed to direct the next Star Wars episode, but make it a found footage. So like the older Luke Skywalker has like a video camera.
Yeah, dude,
Right.
man, get me
That's a,
on there.
that's a crazy
Sign me up.
Oh my God. So what the hell was going on in the early 90s with you and Daniel when you came up with this wacky idea?
A lot of drugs, a lot
I
of
bet.
sexual experimentation. No,
Really?
we were just kind of bored with with the horror movies that were coming out. And we went back to kind of like, all right, which movies really scared the crap out of us when we were kids, and it was over a weekend, like, and it was probably like 91, and we just started talking about horror movies, and we went to the video store back in the day when there was actual video stores.
Hmm.
And we just got, a bunch of VHSs, in search of episodes. And I think we got The Legend of Boggy Creek. We got Chair of the Gods, all these kind of pseudo documentary type of films.
Were you guys in film school?
Yeah, we were in film school, and we were broke, and we were just hanging out. So, and then and we just love those kind of pseudo documentary movies. We just thought those scared the crap out of us as kids.
What about Faces of Death? Was that one of them?
Yeah, I mean, Faces of Death was it was sort of one of them, but it was so cheesy.
Right.
Right.
It was tough to get over the, all the fake
Right.
deaths and shit, but so, but no, man, especially In Search of, that show with Leonard Nimoy, uh, kind of just, really, really scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And so we would kind of started basing the idea on, could you do something like that again? Could you do a movie that pretends, that basically pretends to be real?
Right.
So that's where the idea came from.
And with this film, I mean, and again, when I'm watching it, it's just, I mean, there's really no violence. There's no blood and guts. I mean, it's all tension. You're like you're going old school and you're scaring people with their thoughts, with just people sitting there thinking about being in this awful situation. And it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing work. I mean, you guys shot 19 hours of footage, or you had the actors, you had Heather, Michael, and Joshua shoot 19 hours of footage, and you condense it into 90 minutes. Ed, I mean, that must have been a long process.
It was. It was almost a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 98, and and Dan and I would started editing in shifts. He would do the day shift, and I would do the night shift because there was so much footage, and we were kind of just compiling it to just make it like manageable.
Were
And
you?
and the thing about the difference with Blair Witch and other movies is that it wasn't like 19 hours of just just of alternate takes. It was like 19 hours of their journey.
Right.
So we could have, I mean, there was a lot of, stuff of them just fooling around and stuff that you couldn't use, but we could have easily put together, 6 or 7 hours of their journey.
Of
Of course,
course.
nobody was going to sit through that, but, that was kind of our starting point, just whittle it down to about 2.5 hours and then continue to edit from there.
So you had 90 minutes in mind. You felt that a film like this would work in a 90-minute time frame.
Yeah, 90 or under. That's kind of the sweet spot for horror. You better gotta have a good reason to, gotta have a really good reason to go over 90 minutes with horror films.
So you and Daniel put together this 35-page outline in 1993, and it takes a few years to get the project off the ground. You probably saw a lot of actors who would love to be in an independent film, no matter how big or small. What drew you to Heather, Michael, and Joshua?
We did an open call in New York City, and we had never seen that many great actors in one place, and we got to the place that we were auditioning. There was a line, outside, going outside up and down the stairwell, and we had put an ad that said, we're doing an improv feature film. So I guess that sparked the, imagination of a lot of people, a lot of actors, because, you rarely get to do an improvisational feature film.
Sure.
But, so we just started kind of putting them through these basically tests. We would ask them to immediately come into the room and be in character. There's no introductions or anything. And we would just start kind of grilling them in different scenarios. And Josh was the first one we hired. We were like, okay, I think Josh, I think he's one of the guys. And then we just started kind of putting Josh, with other people, and it kind of got down to Mike and Heather, and then we added Josh, and we were like, this is great. They're Heather's just really strong, and Heather had this thing in her, she's a pretty amazing actress, and in the rehearsal space where we were auditioning, she just kind of blew us away. She just took this, had this emotional intensity.
Did you have it conceived from the beginning that it would be largely her tale, or was that something that?
Yeah, we were. I mean, our thing was that it was a woman, it was a girl and two guys, assisting her. But we always felt that, because it was the Blair Witch, we felt that, there was something more interesting about, a female filmmaker making a film about, the legend of Blair Witch. We just thought it was a lot more interesting. So yeah, that was the original plan.
Right. We're talking to Eduardo Sanchez, the co-director of the Blair Witch Project. Ed, Heather also had to work a camera, which she'd never done before, and this was something. Was this a concern, or did she, how was that process? Where she had just very little time to really learn how to operate the camera, and she was going to be doing most of the camera work. So, as a director, what did you do to help her prepare for that in such a quick time frame?
We brought them in, 2 or 3 days before we started shooting, and then that was just basically training. We put them through like a little mini film school. Our DP Neil Fredericks, trained them on the cameras and switching out tapes, and making sure the batteries are, not going to run out in the middle of a take, and just all that stuff. And it was just a camcorder. It was just a RCA high 8 camcorder, so it wasn't like anything, that complex. And then Josh Leonard, he was, supposedly the cameraman. So he was, he had brought a CP16, which is a film camera. Mm-hmm. And so we trained him on the CP16, but Josh had already, he was already a filmmaker back then, filmmaker / actor. So he had already, he definitely had more experience than Heather with the camera. So, but still, it was just a pain in the ass lugging all that equipment around. And then what we would do is just basically, switch out their batteries, switch out the tapes as they needed it. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, we just had a little mini film school, and they were all pretty smart people. We had to train Mike on a DAT machine, a digital sound machine. So there's definitely some things that we had to teach them, but they were very eager to learn, and it worked out well.
It's such a different way to direct actors. It's a different way to tell a story, Eduardo. You and Daniel do a sensational job. It's a classic horror film at this point, and it's something that should be watched by every up-and-coming horror fan. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, man.
Did you ever think about doing a little side movie about those two fishermen that the kids were talking to?
Yeah,
because they're fucking hilarious.
I know. No, they were, and look, man, the entire like story of Blair Witch is just like a story of like good luck and the planets aligning and serendipity. Like there's just, and those two fishermen were the same. The younger one was a guy that I used to play softball with, and I was like, he had a kind of a cool personality, and he was kind of the guy, kind of a guy that I would imagine would fish. Mm-hmm. And then, Bob Griffin, we auditioned a few people. We're looking for, a little bit older men, that can play, father, grandfather kind of role.
Right.
and
Yeah,
he was just really natural, man. And I think, and we paired the both of them up together, and the sparks flew,
they
So
have this awesome American movie dynamic, like Borchard and Uncle Bill.
yeah, and that, and that was, we definitely,
It's worth exploring. I mean,
yeah, yeah, and we told him, we told Bob, the older guy, okay, you saw something, you believe in the Blair Witch, you're definitely a believer, and the other guy were like, you're a skeptic, so we just kind of let them loose on each other, and they did
that's amazing.
good
And
job.
they pulled that off for you.
Yeah, it was, that was one of those things, man, that it just worked, and it was very surprising to us how well it worked.
We are going to switch gears a little bit, Eduardo. We're going to shift you over to Max. He is going to have a lot of fun with you. I'm sure he has a few questions for you. So let's hear from Max. Max, do it, man.
All right. Well, first off, Eduardo, get uncomfortable because I need you to drop your pants and open your ass. I'm about to blow a lot of smoke up it, and I hope you don't mind.
All right, hold on a second. Let me get ready.
Hold on. He's
All right.
think. There he goes.
All right.
Hey, you smell pretty good back there.
Yeah,
Now,
it's washed.
perhaps you knew what you were doing, okay? But for me, I think personally, and I talk to people about this, and they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I think the most sincere power of the Blair Witch Project is the fact that you, the filmmakers, engage us, the audience, to the point where we have to do work as well to make this thing so scary. The movie is not a lazy, passive experience. And what I mean by that is, I'm a pretty fucked up guy, and the Blair Witch I was seeing in my mind, the physical embodiment of dread I was witnessing in my brain out there in the woods with the snapping sticks and the weeping baby, it was enough to fill my pants with like fear meat for days. And I really do believe we all created our own Ellie in our minds. You and your partner Daniel gave us that gift. It's like you really did help us use our brains in that thing. And I'm seriously convinced it's one of the main reasons why this is such a classic work of horror art. And I wanted to know what you thought of that, if that even came into your brain at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, we knew we had a good idea, but we had no money, so we knew that we couldn't show anything. We didn't have any special effects, and this is not an option for us. We were trying to shoot this thing for $15,000.
Right.
So we kind of that's our thing. That was our thing, is that the idea that, like, if you set it up as reality, and even though people go in and they know it's not real, even nowadays, you watch the movie, obviously it's not a real movie, but something about, like, just drawing you into this hell and, like, getting you stuck there. We thought that if people really kind of dedicated themselves a little bit and let themselves get sucked in, they were going to go along this ride with these three filmmakers, these three characters. And our thing was, like, if to keep it real, you can't really show too much. You can, hear creepy things, and have evidence that somebody was around your camp. You have the rock piles, you have, the little kids playing outside your tent, and then they're gone. You just have all these creepy noises. But we knew that we were never going to show the creature. We were never going to show Ellie. And we just kind of crossed our fingers and hoped that it would work, and kind of the theory we were using is that, there's very few Stephen King movies that are better or scarier than the books, and I think that it's just, in literature, there's a reason why, all those Edgar Allan Poe, stories are so creepy. And same that with Stephen King, it's like what we create in our minds is much more potent than anything, any filmmaker could show you.
So is it fair to say?
Absolutely.
Is it fair to say that the morons who didn't like this film have no imagination?
No, I mean, yeah, I think a little bit. No, I mean, look, this movie was an experiment. You know what I mean? Like, this movie was never meant to, like, be seen by the millions of people that saw it. This was going to be, or we hoped that it was going to be like a small little indie kind of hit. You know what I mean? But once it got into the big theaters and started competing with, the Hollywood movies, we knew that it was that eventually there was a bunch of people that were going to see this movie that were not going to get it because it's a home movie, and you're right. One of you guys said it right. Is like you have to invest yourself in the film. It's not you're not going to just be able to sit there and watch a couple of scenes and it affect you. You have to kind of immerse yourself in the film.
Yeah, it's a job.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people, there's a bit, basically there's a lot of film, the audience out there that just doesn't, I mean, they just don't want to do that. Some of them don't do it at all, and some of them just, are very picky about the films that they want to do that with. So, a lot of times people go see a horror movie, they just want to see, a little bit of a roller coaster ride. They want to be creeped out and scared, but they don't want to think too much, and and you're right. Watching Blair Witch definitely, you definitely have to you have to get into it, and your mind has to be in a perfect place to actually accept it and creep you out, So, but mostly we did that, just out of necessity of the idea that, we just had no money. So, like the end of the film, we were like, how the hell are we going to end this movie? Because you can't show anything. We were like, okay, should the witch come out of the come out of the wall, or or should we have an arm come out of the ground or something? We were like, what the hell do we show at the end that's gonna creep people out enough, and at the same time kind of show that there was actually something supernatural happening and weird.
And this is a testament to Heather, because your leading lady is truly extraordinary. I think it's one of the most underrated performances of all time. I think a lot of people find her very, very irritating.
Absolutely.
I happen to be in love with her, and I wondered,
Right.
Eduardo, if you fell in love with her. Like, I don't know if you were in a relationship when you made the movie, but I know it was a very method experience. I know you guys were immersed in this reality, but I wondered about your relationship with Heather. Like, what happened between you guys? Are you still friends? Did you ever watch her squat and take a boom boom in the woods? I mean, what happened?
Oh, wow, there's a lot of good questions there. No, we look, whenever, always as a director, you have to kind of, part of your casting, especially when you're doing, low budget stuff, is that, you're going to spend a lot of time with these people. So, you have to cast somebody that's, that obviously you're going to get along with and is going to, and, also going to deliver the performance, but also, personality is a lot of it. And Heather came in with a very professional kind of attitude, like she was ready to work, and and she was incredibly brave. I mean, if you think about it, this woman came from New York. She didn't know Josh, she didn't know Mike, she didn't know any of us other than meeting us during the audition process. And she comes 250 miles away from her house to basically shoot a movie where she's going to spend most of the time in the woods by herself with two guys that she doesn't know, surrounded by other guy filmmakers. So there was a couple of women that were involved in the shooting. So my thing with Heather was just trying to make her comfortable, and the same thing with Josh and Mike, just trying to keep them safe and make them trust us enough so that we could mess with them. You know what I mean? We could, take some of their food and mess with their minds a little bit, and they knew that they were in a safe place, that we weren't going to hurt them, that we were going to push them, and we were going to kind of, torture them a little bit, but but always safety in mind. And with Heather, it's like there's no time. There was really no time to fall in love, and and you're just working immediately, and it's all just about troubleshooting and trying to get the day's shooting done. And then after Blair Witch, I mean, I think Heather and I are friends. We didn't really hang out in the same social circles. I think probably I'm closest to Mike Williams, and then Josh is a close second. But Heather and I are still friendly. But for us, it was just like, we just appreciate all of them. But especially Heather, like her performance and her bravery and her ability to kind of, to do this part, to even consider doing this part, was pretty amazing. And then once we got into the editing room, you're spending 8 hours a day with editing with these people, and there's kind of a thing where you kind of it's almost like you're hanging out with them, you know.
Hmm.
But no, it was for me. It was mostly like, you know, I try to, you know, you try not to fall in love with your leading lady. It's just not a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I was, you know, I was in a relationship, and you know, it's not a good thing for the director to be doing, you know, things like, you know, to begin it. And she definitely wasn't interested, so it wasn't like anything. It was just, it was a professional relationship, and you know, like I said again, we really appreciate, you know, the risk that they all took in making this movie with us.
So
Now,
Ed, if they
yeah.
if they said taco, they knew they would be safe.
Taco was the word where it was like, okay, we've broken scenario. We are no longer shooting the movie. We are dealing with whatever it
An
has.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah, we're dealing with an issue, or you know, but yeah, they only called Taco a few times. So
Okay. Go on back. Sorry, man.
No, that's fine. I just want to know what happened post Blair Witch, because Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows tonally and everything else came out, and you guys, how did you feel about that? Did you really feel that that sequel was necessary? Did you feel it kind of took a dump on what you'd created? What are your feelings about it today?
um, you know, the Blair Witch was like a nuclear explosion going off, you know, in your life. You know, I mean, it was just like, I mean, you know, a good kind of nuclear explosion. I mean, there's, you know, definitely a lot of good things, positive things about what happened. You know, we were suddenly filmmakers. We had, you know, some money. But you know, you all of a sudden you go from, you know, a guy who's, you know, a group of guys who are making a $15,000 movie, and all of a sudden you have, you know, L.A. attorneys and L.A., you know, agents, and you have
Jeez,
people,
friggin'
you know, calling you
Jesus.
because they want to manage you, and you have
Of course.
people sending you scripts, and you know, and then you have you know, then you have artists in the studio that bought Blair Witch. They're talking about a sequel immediately.
Ugh.
And you know, and Dan and me and you know the rest of the guys, we were just kind of shell shocked. You know, I mean, we were still
Yeah.
kind of recovering from, you know, doing an independent film. And you know, I know you know, everybody who knows about doing an independent film, it drains your life. I mean, you know, your life force. You know, so it was all just a big kind of, you know, a lot of noise and a lot of things that were distracting us, and I think we just kind of unplugged a little bit. We kind of had to, you know. And Artisan told us, "Hey, we want to do a sequel," and we were like, "Not this year. I mean, we would love to do a sequel, you know, but maybe next year." Like, because we had just been through like, oh my God, it's the best movie ever. You know, it came out of Sundance and it's a great film, the scariest movie of all time, the scariest movie since The Exorcist. Oh my God, it's making all this money. What a success. And then, oh shit, this movie sucked. It's a home movie. What the fuck? Where do they spend the money? You know, jokes about handheld shakiness and
You know,
people
Ed, yeah,
throwing
that's
up and the backlash, and that's fine. You know, that was great. We
yeah.
loved a minute of it. So, and then the video, you know, the video came out, and we did a bunch of press, and you know, everybody's like, "Oh my God, they released the video so quickly," and all this stuff. So, and then they're like, "Hey, let's do another one," and we were like, you know, maybe we should just take a break and let the movie kind of, you know, fade out a little bit, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
come back in
yeah.
2 years and do a movie, do a sequel, you know, or do a prequel, or do something else. And so that we told, so once we told them that, you know, we weren't interested in doing a sequel right away, they were like, okay, we're going to find, you know, other filmmakers. We're going to, you know, hire some
So
writers.
you didn't own, you signed away the rights to the sequels or anything.
Yeah. I mean, when you're at Sundance and you're selling your film, you sell everything.
Well, you
There's,
know, and you
Right.
have to wonder too, Joe. I mean, they're like the darling of Sundance with this film, and they're obviously creating a incredible amount of buzz and quick fame, and they want to make a sequel because it's a horror movie. I mean, if it was anything else but a horror movie, they'd just let these people breathe and probably make whatever film they wanted to. But they know
yeah,
that they could cash in
yeah.
on the horror, right?
Well,
Right, Ed?
yeah. I mean, look, man. You know, and that's the whole thing is that, you know, you don't. I didn't blame them for wanting to do a sequel. You
I hear
know,
you.
that was, you know, that was business, and they had, you know, the biggest year ever because of Blair Witch. So you can't go back to your, you know, stockholders and your shareholders and say, so we're not going to make another Blair movie. We're not going to try to cash in on this. You can't. You know, you have to go for the money, and they went for it, and you know, and they made a movie that, you know, is. I mean, a lot of people love the movie. I thought, you know, I mean, I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it. I just don't think it has anything to do with the movie that Dan and I made.
Correct.
And so it has its fans and it has people who hate it, and it's it's a weird thing, because you have to think about it, man. Like, we were guys that were, I was in my late 20s, and I had sunk, I'd been trying to be a filmmaker since I was 16 years old. I was pretty poor. I was, my credit cards were all maxed out. And, all of a sudden you're the darling of Sundance, like you guys were saying, and all of a sudden you have a career and all these things are happening, and you just, part of me just wanted to kind of just chill out a little bit and take it easy. But we didn't blame Artisan, it was, and it's just weird, like seeing your movie that, that you kind of put together with your own hands, and you've been, editing it, and I worked on the website, like all this stuff, and all of a sudden it belongs to somebody else, and now they're taking it and making a sequel that, you're not really in charge of. It was, it's a very strange time. It was a very strange time.
We're talking with Eduardo Sanchez, the co-director of the Blair Witch Project. Joe, this is interesting to note. Eduardo's film cost roughly $20,000 to make. It has now grossed over $248 million.
That's not a bad return.
Bravo.
Yeah, definitely. Excellent work, Eduardo. Great. That's awesome.
Do you and Dan still work together, or he kind of vanished?
Yeah, him and I, we've written some stuff together that hasn't gone anywhere. But yeah, he left Haxon, which is the company that made Blair Witch, 3 or 4 years after Blair Witch, and so now it's just me and Greg Hale, who was actually the producer on Blair Witch. Right. We're the only ones left, but I think Dan is working. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I thought he was working on a movie, and I'm not sure. It has to be close to being released soon. But I haven't heard anything about it. So. But he's out. He's definitely out there. It was for both of us. It was just like I said, it was this big kind of thing that happened in our lives, and for a while, it took me 5 years to start work on another movie after Blair Witch.
Wow. It
took me just a long time to just kind of recharge my batteries and actually find material that I really loved.
Right. Right.
So it's I don't blame him for but he has worked, but it's just the business is tough, man, and it continues to eat you up, regardless of how much success you've had. So it's he's definitely out there, but I haven't heard from him in a while.
We broadcast here on the internet, and the internet is probably the biggest thing in most of our lives, besides, hopefully the ones that we love and adore that are close to us. Right. But the internet is very huge, and it's something that is a part of us almost minute by minute. For our younger listeners, I just want them to be aware of the fact that this film came out in 1999, and it's really credited for also being one of the first films that generated its popularity via internet marketing. It caught a huge buzz on the internet in 99. Eduardo, what was the strategy behind that for you guys? You obviously were onto something early with that. And it really helped your project out. As far as the word, you took word of mouth to a totally different level. Can you tell some of our listeners, some of our young filmmakers, how you went about doing this?
Yeah, it was. We had no money, so I had built a few websites in a previous job, and so we were like, we need to kind of start getting the word out there, and there were some, we had shown a little bit of the movie, like a little condensed trailer on a show called Split Screen that was on the Bravo network, this is like
when Bravo was good.
When Bravo was really small. They were just
when all they had was James Lipton.
Yeah, they were, they were definitely a different channel, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
they had like a show that was about like indie cinema called Split Screen, and they showed a little bit of the Blair Witch, and set it up as like, oh, there's this footage and all this stuff. And there's a lot of buzz about that. The discussion board on the Split Screen site kind of blew up, and everybody was talking about Blair Witch. So we were like, well, we should probably build our own website just to give people information. So I started building the website, and it was the only thing we could afford. I mean, it was $15 a month to host it, and then I was building it for free. And I just started putting stuff on there and building up the mythology, and putting a bunch of photos that we had taken during the shooting, and built the idea that that there was there's this police investigation, and people went out and looked for for these filmmakers for a couple of weeks. Nothing was found, and how the footage was found a year later. All that, basically all the facts of the movie,
Right.
laid out in a timeline with pictures. And then we had a discussion board, and then so that kind of became the first community, the online community that we built. And it was just helpful, man. For us, it was.
Were people sold on it? Would people believe that
Yes.
everything you were saying?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just.
I mean, this was before YouTube. This is before Facebook.
Right.
I mean, this was like
All of it.
AOL was like in its heyday, and it's so there was it was such a limited thing. But like by the time we went to Sundance, we had like 10,000 people on our mailing list, which is unbelievable for 1998. So that definitely propelled us, and it made us one of the films that generating a lot of buzz at Sundance, and which led to our screenings being sold out, and eventually I think led us to the sale of the movie.
When you got the acceptance letter to Sundance, did you just shit your pants right there when you opened the?
Well, it was a phone call, man, and yeah, I was like, and I actually answered, and I didn't know what the hell I was saying, I was just like, and my partners, I remember them looking at me like, "Who the hell is it?" I'm like, "Sundance," and I actually hung up the phone before I got any kind of information, and my partner had to call them back and say, "All right, what's the deal?" But yeah, man, it was because for us it was like
that's the day.
that's the day, man. It's the day you dream up, and also we had all these contingency plans about, okay, if we don't get into Sundance, we can. We definitely had there was a lot of buzz about the movie. Like, Slam Dance wanted us if we didn't get into Sundance. We had there was a pretty big film festival in LA that wanted to make us like the opening night film, the big film,
and this was all the buzz you generated with the website leading up to it.
Yeah, leading up to it. And then also, we entered a few of these festivals, and people saw the movie, and I guess some people kind of started connecting the dots, and yeah, so even if Sundance hadn't accepted us, and we actually thought of not going to Sundance for like a split second there. We actually discussed it. Like, should we, what about, are we shooting ourselves in the foot? And we were like, no, dude, it's Sundance.
In what way?
Go. Well,
in what way?
Because they had put us in the midnight section.
Oh.
And we were not in competition. So, we were just, that was back in the day because since Blair Witch came out, midnight section, I don't know. Since Blair Witch was one of these big movies that came out of Sundance, it kind of, definitely promoted the idea of being in the midnight section. But, for us, because the midnight section of Sundance was a place where like movies went to die. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't have the same kind of hype that it has now, which all the best horror movies. Go into the midnight section. Like back then, it was mostly just like anything weird that weird ass movie where the audience is gonna have a weird time with it and has to go in with a certain mentality. They put in the midnight section.
Right.
So we were like, if they don't put us in the competition section, should we just tell them no? And so, we definitely debated that for a while, but at the end, we kind of came to our senses, and we're like, it's Sundance. It's the biggest, platform there is out there for independent film. So, there's no way we can say no to this,
I give you a lot of credit for Joe. I mean, even thinking about turning it down,
Yeah,
it takes a lot of balls, man.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, that's kind. I mean, look, man, we were totally just inventing. We were just kind of making stuff up, man. I mean, all and luckily we made most of the right calls. But yeah, we definitely discussed the idea of telling Sundance no.
Eduardo, we're going to cut you loose in a few minutes. I'm sure Max has one or two more things for you, real quick before you go. Max, what do you have for Eduardo?
It's just been such a pleasure. He's so
It
cool
is.
and down to earth and
He
just
keeps me
honest.
calm. I'm very
Yeah.
calm. Yeah. He's very
Well,
tranquil.
if you go to his Twitter, he grew a big weird beard. So he's like, I think he's real. Like, I don't know if he's a mystic. I mean, what are you, Eduardo?
I'm becoming a wizard.
That's it. No, but you guys, you got to check out his Bigfoot film because he was talking about how the Nimoy show used to scare him as a kid, but I thought Exists was really really strong.
Oh, thanks,
And
man.
I was like, well, finally he's back in action. Where the hell's this guy been? I mean, I know you did VH1 or not VH1, sorry,
VHS2.
VHS2, and but I thought Exists was a real true to form, return to form rather. Have you ever seen an actual Sasquatch in your woodwork, like walking around the woods?
No, I mean the only time I see a Sasquatch is in when I see myself in the mirror. There's definitely something.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, yeah. Are you a hairy dude too, man?
I'm not. I'm just big and
And
scruffy.
Bigfooty looking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like 6'4" with like a James Gandolfini build.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
It's
you know what I'm talking about. So
yeah.
no, I've never seen a Bigfoot, but it was. I mean, of anything that that Bigfoot was the number one thing that I was afraid of as a kid
Mm.
because I thought that it was real, and I thought that eventually this thing is going to find me, and and the most horrible thing
It's
that
gonna
because
fight.
I never thought the Bigfoot was going to kill me. The thing was I just dreaded that it would walk by my window and look inside my room,
Oh,
at
Like in a
night.
Harry and the Hendersons sense. Didn't the guy who played the Bigfoot in Harry and the Hendersons didn't you use him?
Yeah, he did Harry and the Hendersons in the TV show
TV
Harry.
show. Okay. All right. Very
The
cool.
little, he wasn't
Right.
old enough to be the Harry and the
is your wife behind the beard, Eduardo? Because chicks kind of get weird about that.
the beard. I haven't cut it. I haven't touched it this year. I haven't like trimmed it. I mean, I've trimmed it, but I haven't cut the length since January 1st. So, it was just something I was like, I'm gonna grow a beard and see what happens, and then it just kind of kept. I was like, I'm gonna shave in the summer, and then it didn't happen. I'm like, I'm gonna shave in the fall, and now I'm just gonna keep it at least until through the winter and see what happens. But no, I mean, look, if my wife hated it, it would be gone. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing, you can't really get away with that. But no, she likes it. She thinks it's sexy. She likes touching it and stuff. But she hates cleaning up all the tiny little beard pubes. I mean, do any of you guys have a beard?
I don't. Joe, you'll sport one occasionally, right?
Everyone in the winters.
Yeah.
Actually, my wife urges me to
Yeah,
grow one
so,
of those.
so
She's
like
just like,
it sheds like any other part of your body, but unfortunately, they're like it's like long pubes all over the car, and it's just it's terrible.
I have one more thing for Eduardo. I know you went to film school in Central Florida. I spent a year there as an actor on contract at Epcot, and I wanted to slice my own face off. My only saving grace was the Enzian Theater, and I
Yeah.
wondered if you had gone there while you were going to film school, or if it even was there.
Yeah, well, of course, man. Enzian was like that was the place that showed the movies that nobody else showed.
Correct.
And they were a huge supporter of Blair Witch. Even before it was released, like we had our first public exhibition. We Dan and I cut the movie down to about 2.5 hours, and we knew it was too long. We knew we wanted to get to under 19 minutes, but we were just like, look, let's just show it to like our close friends and people that we know in Orlando, and just see if this is working at all, because we have no idea, and we knew, so we actually did a 2.5 hour screening at the Enzian, and they were just basically, they gave it to us for free, so we know I know the owners of the place, or at least they used to be the owners. I don't know if they own it anymore, but yeah, they're just it's just like you need a. You're right, especially back then. I mean, Orlando has definitely grown culturally since since the '90s when we were there, but. Um, Enzian was kind of, like you were saying, it's kind of like the little island
Oh, it was
place where you
salvation.
could, yeah, a little salvation. You could go and,
Have a beer.
have a beer and watch, an cool ass indie movie.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for coming on the show today, man.
Yeah, thanks,
Seriously.
man.
I don't know what it is about talking to you, but I'm really at peace right now.
Well, excellent, man.
I
I'm
wish I
glad,
wish you could just come on all the time. You would really
I'm
be doing
glad
me a favor.
I soothe you. Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me, man.
Dude, totally, man. You're awesome. Your film is awesome. Hey, real quick before you go, tell us what you're doing right now. What are you working on?
We are trying to work our way into the television world, which is more
It's a good
lucrative.
place to be right now, man.
And creatively, it's a great place to
Of
be, man.
course,
We,
I
we
could see big things.
yeah, we've gotten a little frustrated with the state of like theatrical horror. It seems like you have to play within a certain box that we don't like playing in.
Hmm.
So we think that there's just more chances being taken on TV right now
Absolutely,
than in film.
it's kicking. Somebody on our show once said television is kicking cinema's ass right now.
It is, man, because not and look, I love Star Wars, and I'm glad they're making more movies, but
Of course.
soon it's going to be Marvel and Star Wars.
And yeah, and Batman and Superman.
Yeah, every other weekend is going to be it's going to be another one of these big, and I like those movies, but
Of course.
it seems like there's definitely room for some other stuff, and I think that's why I think a lot of people, a lot of the bigger names are actually going to television. It just gives you a little
Stars, they're
freedom.
going there. I mean,
Yeah.
everywhere you look. I mean, and plus, it's just, hey, listen, I'll plug a show right now. I mean, I watch Fargo, and it's an incredible show, and the second season just started. And it's amazing to me that you could actually tell like a 10-hour, it's like basically a 10-hour film,
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
really just elaborate so much on characters and just
Yes.
the visuals. I mean,
Yeah.
everything. And I could see, directors, and they have. I mean, some with success. Martin Scorsese, helped out a lot with Boardwalk Empire. He's had great success. Michael Mann tried to go to HBO with his show.
Mhm.
Luck didn't work out, but still, I mean, these directors are trying to, I think, make that jump too,
Yeah.
Eduardo. And obviously,
Yeah.
you're thinking about doing it too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I directed a couple episodes of Dust Till Dawn this season, and
Right.
so I definitely have been gotten into the TV, but it's a better place to be right now, and we're not giving up on feature films. Like we have a film that's we hope to have a green light very soon on that we'll shoot in the spring, but
Good.
we just think that creatively TV, like for all the reasons you said, man, it gives you more time to mess with the characters and to set up situations, and it's much more satisfying right now than at least horror films are, and for horror cinema is.
Eduardo, you have a lot of fans that love the Blair Witch. Right now, I mean, there have been rumors about you guys getting back together and doing something. I mean, can you tell them anything?
I say the same thing every time. I don't have any news. I haven't
Okay.
even talked to Lionsgate for a while about
Oh,
it.
There's a documentary coming out about the making of the film, correct?
Yes, we did a documentary that we're trying to figure out where we're going to show it and where we're going to put it. But yeah, it's a pretty amazing film about the making of the movie because there's just such a weird way of making a movie, and nobody has really ever seen the footage that we had. So we finally got off our asses and we edited the film, and it's a good film. It's it looks a lot like the Blair Witch Project, like a making of Blair Witch Project. It's very very it's not slick, and it's kind of down and dirty, but that's the way we made the film. But yeah, man, it's hopefully there'll be something. I mean, it seems like with all the remakes and all the kind of all the horror franchises and pretty much every franchise that they can dig out, they're making a remake or they're rebooting it or whatever. It seems like Blair Witch could generate some buzz, but like I said, we don't own that. We haven't owned it since '99, so it's basically up to Artisan, and we kind
Gotcha.
of to follow their lead on what they want to do with it.
Any departing words for Ed, Joe?
I just wanted to say that the one thing that bugs the hell out of me about the new generation of found footage films is that they make it look too clean and too false. Where I
Absolutely.
just really admire the way that you guys actually let the natural artifacts of the video, like you were talking about, it's just a camcorder, like
Yeah.
now they would have like an HD camera and then like filter it to make it look gritty.
Yes.
Or like that Alone with Her, we just reviewed that
Right.
film, and like they would put like filtered static when they wanted to cut the film. You know what I mean? It's so false, man. And I don't understand what is so difficult about, it. Or okay, so your actor's not perfectly lit in the scene, but but to have it perfectly lit in a found footage
doesn't
movie
make sense.
breaks the reality.
Yeah,
You know
Well,
what I mean?
look,
So
man, I think it's part of the reason that a lot of I think the best the best horror films come out of the indie world, still, because they're people that aren't following any rules, and I think that a lot of the stuff you see, is that they have these kind of conventions where it's like, no, you can't have the guy in the dark. You have to be able to see him, and you have to be able to
Right.
hear the joke, and you have to be clear. It has to be clear. You got to tell the audience where you're going and where you've been. I mean, basically, it comes down to they don't trust the audience. They don't trust that
Right.
the audience is going to put any work. And, and I mean, part of the research does show that, a lot of people just don't want to do any, they just want to be fed stuff. But I think it's just a difference of, of approach, you know what I mean? And I think the studios, and the same thing, with the networks, the TV networks, they need to attract millions of people.
Right.
And I
Right.
think you kind of have to water things down. You have to make it safe. You have to make it very clear to people of, every 10 minutes what they're watching. Hey, you're watching this thing, you don't expect the audience to kind of, to work. You don't want the audience to work. So I think that, in indie film, you're not, I mean, obviously you want as many people to see your film as possible, but you're not looking for these millions of eyeballs. You're not looking, you don't need.
You're not packaging
Yeah,
a
you're not,
product.
yeah, exactly. You're not taking that big a risk. And I think that.
And that's the thing,
Yeah.
is what you guys did was a huge risk, and it wouldn't be possible in a studio system because they would do what the found footage, like that superhero movie, Tom. What was it?
Oh, I
forget what it was called.
Chronicle.
Yeah, the
Thank
Chronicle.
you.
It's just like it's supposed to be a found footage
Right.
about these kids running around their house and their town. And
It looks
everything,
very clean.
but they look like they're like,
Yeah.
there's a microphone standing right next to
Yeah.
them every
Right,
time,
yeah.
and then there's like a
Well,
perfect
yeah.
top
I mean,
light.
and
over
look,
it.
I thought that was a fun movie. I don't really.
Yeah, I liked
yeah.
it too,
Yeah,
Eduardo.
but
Me too,
Yeah.
for what it was,
Yeah.
but it didn't have that verve.
Right.
that
And
something
and
like
it was
this
very convenient that these guys can levitate cameras and form perfect.
Right, right.
Right.
Well, they give you an
Like this
explanation.
These perfect crane shots. You know what I mean?
But at least they give you an explanation.
No, here's the worst one. The worst one is the Gyllenhaal one, End of Watch, because the guy's supposed to be making it's supposed to be like a found footage movie with this guy
So
holding
you
down.
got serious problems with this movie.
But I do, man, because it's the word. Ed, have you seen that one?
I haven't seen it. No.
Okay, check it out, because you'll probably want to throw your TV out the window, because the guy's supposed to be making this film, but when it's like inconvenient, like when the camera it's inconvenient for the camera to get the right framing or whatever, they'll just arbitrarily cut to another camera
Right.
that's like,
in
the back seat.
Yeah,
or
where's
something.
that camera coming from?
Exactly. It's just like, are you guys kidding?
Yeah, I
me?
mean that's the biggest thing for me, like with found footage or anything like that, where like it's like the camera is too convenient.
Yeah.
And also like when it's just overlit and you're like, why the hell? It looks like a movie that you're just shooting with a video camera. Like, why would you do that?
For
Why
our
wouldn't you just go and shoot the movie?
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
for our listeners, I mean, and this is just my personal opinion. I'm sure Max will agree with me. If you want to watch two great found footage films in the past 20 years, it's Eduardo Sanchez's and Daniel Myrick's The Blair Witch Project and Harmony Korine's Trash Humpers. Those are the standard. Max, am I right or am I wrong?
I think that's a fantastic double feature. I would also pick up the Blair Witch Blu-ray because I think the commentary was rocking. I mean, this is a guy, Eduardo Sanchez is a dude clearly who has a method approach to directing, and they all talk about the method of getting the actors out there, creating this reality. You know, they didn't know what the fuck was going on. They were given cameras, and they were like down the road a bit, or way out in the near the creek, or down by the leaves is when the next thing happens. But the actors don't know. So again, that's why the film is so beautiful, because everything you're seeing in so many ways is just so real. And I honestly, I'm such a geek for this movie. I'm not a geek for a lot of things. I still believe that those kids are out there dead. I still believe that that movie was real. I still believe that that footage was found. I still believe that Mary's living in that creepy ass trailer with the
Mary
fucking...
Brown.
Oh my God! And I just, it's just an absolute gem.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I mean, it was. There was a lot of luck involved, and and we did some good things, and it was just I feel very fortunate to have been a part of the film, and and I appreciate all the kind words.
Ed, where can everybody follow you on Twitter?
My Twitter feed is Sanchez on the mic, which is just a stupid name that I came up with. And then, I'm on Facebook, Eduardo Sanchez, and my company's called Hacks and Films, if you want to keep track of what we're doing and stuff.
I'm sure a lot of people are, Ed. You're fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Happy Halloween to you. Happy Halloween to your family, and hopefully we get to talk to you again sometime real soon.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks,
all
guys.
Right, that's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
brother.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
All right. Guys, that was Mr. Eduardo Sanchez, co-director of the Blair Witch Project. He was fucking awesome, Max.
Wow! That was so great. That could not have gone better.
It was a good one. Joe, was it not a good one?
Yeah, man. It was a nice conversation.
That was awesome. And Max, I got to tell you right now, man, the Halloween show, I mean, last week we did It Follows. Awesome stuff. Yes. This interview coincides with our... episode 93, the Blair Witch Project and Martyrs. So you can go over to our website and thecuttingroompodcast.com and check out our full discussion on the Blair Witch Project. I do the intro. Joe intros Martyrs in the second half of the show. Definitely check out those discussions. You got to love the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. And I got to love my co-host today doing this interview, Joe and Max. Thanks so much for doing this, man. It was awesome.
Good job, Tom.
Yeah,
Good
absolutely.
job, guys.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, guys, let's wrap things up. You can follow me on Twitter, Thomas Detloff at TCRM Podcast. Definitely get over to Max's blog at maxcookuncork.com and check out Joe's film work.
It's Halloween. You got to go and see. And Eduardo, if you're listening, check out my film, The Nightmare, brother. It's Halloween.
The Nightmare and
if you like
Psycho, Joe.
Oh yeah, Meat Psycho.
Yeah, get over
two scary movies.
Absolutely. We should definitely post. It's Halloween, so when we do the post, we'll get Max's film End of Days up there, and we'll get your two films up there too, Joe.
Max, is there a special Halloween?
What is your? I'm sorry.
End of Days.
I'm sorry. What the hell was I thinking?
End Times Angel.
Oh yeah.
Max, are you doing a Halloween spectacular this year?
No, he's not.
I really wanted to, but instead I finished my horror film, and we're having a reading of it with actors on Friday night. So that's going to be the hell show. Unfortunately,
nice.
A lot of people won't be able to see it, but I've just been too slammed.
I got to tell you, I'm real proud of you. You've really buckled down, and you've really put a lot of time and effort into the screenplay with your buddy Brett.
That's correct, Tom, and I actually sent you a copy today to give a read-through, and it's okay if you hate it. We have no expectations. We just know that we had to get it done, and I'm pretty proud of it.
I'm really happy, and I look forward to reading it. So, yeah, he's really kicking ass with this, man. He's put the pedal to the metal here on this, man, and he's trying to get it done, which is great.
That's exciting.
Well, Max, I hope you enjoyed your Halloween gift for me this year. We actually have another surprise for everyone too. If you haven't listened to the full episodes yet, over on the website, Bill Shetty and Crucifix will be joining us for the Blair Witch Project conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun. and Max, I got to tell you, this year I give you Eduardo Sanchez, which is good, and I give you Bill Shetty, and I give you Crucifix. Big step up from, well, we love Sauerbrook, but a big step up from the Sauerbrook Hart Fisher duo from last year.
Oh,
I want hardback.
oh my god.
Especially after the last episode.
Yeah.
Nobody wants hardback.
Joe is still smarting from that episode. I love it.
No, not at all.
Oh man! All right, guys. Hey, listen. Get over and check our full episode out. We're over and we're out. Ciao. Good.
You survived the cutting room fire.